Welcome back to another video on TAKTAK Toys, good people. And today in this video we are looking at Storm Arena Baki the Grappler, aka Baki son of Ogre, and we have checked out his dad Yujiro on the channel from Storm Arena. So let's see how Baki, the main protagonist, gets on in action figure form. So is this Storm Arena Baki figure going to be a hot topic of conversation among collectors? Well, sit back, grab some snacks and make yourself comfortable as we check him out. And helping me with this review is Libby, and I picked up my copy of Baki from Comics and Cocktails. And as you can see here, we begin by looking at the packaging. So just like Yujiro, Baki comes in some very attractive packaging from Storm Arena. You can see the Baki figure, some extra grappler hands and a spare expressive shouting head, a lovely digital render of the figure. Now, like Yujiro, Baki will come with less than a Storm Collectibles figure, hence the more domestic style price point, which no doubt was designed to compete with the likes of TAKTAK Toys, Street Fighter line and more.
Thanks Mark, Libby here. And so as you can see on the back of the packaging, you can get Baki into all sorts of excellent poses. If you have Yujiro or any Storm Arena figures in your collection, so far you know what to expect in terms of articulation. So that's a question for the chat. Do you have any Storm Arena figures in your collection? If so, which ones? Let us know in the comments below. And as you can see on the sides on the box, there are some lovely digital renders of Baki as well, and the bottom of the box importantly reminds us to please be noticed, and that's probably a good time to say if you're enjoying this review. Or even if it's your first time here at TAKTAK Toys, feel free to hit the notification bell so that you can keep up to date with all our content, and it can be noticed. Appreciate that. So there we go, some simple yet appealing and effective packaging. The figure is on show and it does what it says on the tin. You as the collector know that this figure is from Baki son of Ogre, which is an anime, and that the figure is from Storm Arena.
So you might be watching this review and thinking to yourself, what is Baki son of Ogre? Or I like the initial impressions of this figure but want to learn more. Well, I've got you covered. Baki is the main protagonist of the series, who essentially is on a quest to become one of the strongest fighters in the world, and therefore challenge his father Yujiro Hanma, the strongest creature on the face of the earth. The Baki various anime center on the world's greatest combat and martial arts fighters, doing battle with the world's most dangerous criminals, to see who among them will be the most dangerous and skilled warriors. It's available on Netflix if you want to check it out before picking up any of the Storm Arena figures. Wow! So I guess this is the flicks part of the flicks and figs element of the review.
Right, so here is Baki released for part of his plastic prison, and the clamshell gives us a look at the figure a bit better out of the package. A stand which is appreciated, but I know Mark will never use. If you want to see the stand in more detail, check out the Yujiro review, as it's basically the same stand, and there's a nice cardboard background, which you can use as a display piece if you like. So there's the stand as mentioned before, but let's be honest, that's all nice window dressing and all, but we are really here to get first impressions of the figure at this point in the review, so without further ado, let's get Baki out of his clamshell and see what it's all about.
And this video is not for kids, and so here is Baki out of the package. And yes, you might think he's quite short, but he is meant to be a teenager. And if you imagine a 6-inch Marvel Legends figure representing a 6-foot tall person, not everyone in life is 6 foot. So why should all our 1/12 action figures be the same height? I'm fine with it personally, so first impressions, Baki from Storm Arena looks very accurate to the original manga. An anime he comes from, he looks like he's just stepped off the screen and into action figure form. The details are so sharp. Where TAKTAK figures have more softer features, everything here is so defined and sharp in the detail. And when you consider that this figure is $29 or £27.99 approximately, he looks so premium. This here shows you the power of competition. TAKTAK Toys Street Fighter stuff is what lead to the Storm Arena figures in the same price bracket for amazing import quality. This just shows you that if it was ever possible that a company could make domestic Marvel 6-inch figures, Hasbro would definitely step up their game. I suppose Mattel DC figures might be the closest domestic competition to Marvel Legends if Mattel do 6-inch DC figures. But as you can see, when companies like Jada and Storm go head-to-head, we as the collectors are the winners. So the obvious first comparison to make would be Baki and his dear old dad Yujiro Hanma. And you can see a review for Yujiro. I'll leave a link in the comments below, so as you can see there, they do scale quite nicely together. Yujiro could probably do with being a big taller, or a big larger as a 1/12 scale figure compared to other 1/12 scale lines. But honestly, it's not a deal breaker for me. Yujiro is meant to be around 6'3", whilst Baki is meant to be around 5'6". So I think this can work. It's ironic that Storm Collectibles made their so-called 1/12 figures 1/10 scale or larger, yet their Baki line from Storm Arena could benefit from being a bit bigger. But honestly, I'm fine with it. We will do some comparisons later in the video so that you can see how they measure up to Marvel Legends and other lines to see what you think. And if you are enjoying this review so far, please do smash the like button.
And let's have a quick look at Baki's accessories, which Mark has put on the figure. So Baki comes with this alternative expressive shouting head and grappler hands option. As you can see here, he has one fist and one grappler hand option currently. And then next up we have both grappler hand options on the figure. And if you're enjoying us grappling with this review, hit the like button, feel free to comment and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to keep up to date with all the latest content on the channel, and feel free to consider becoming a channel member for even more content. And speaking of even more content, you can of course check out Mark's review of the Operation Monster Force Phantom Core and Apophis Legion. That review is up on the channel now, and Mark will leave a link in the comments below if you would like to check that out. So from Operation Monster Force, let's go to some more comparisons for Baki, starting with Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. And here is where you really get a sense of scale of Baki as a 5'6" human compared to Spider-Man as a 6 foot, or technically 5'10" human. So Marvel Legends come in at around 6.75 inches, and as you can see, Baki as a teenager is scaled appropriately towards that, I feel. So if you like mixing lines, then here is how Marvel Legends stacks up alongside the Storm Arena Baki line, and Baki in particular. Something to note is that the other Storm Arena lines, such as Street Fighter Alpha or Zero if you're in Japan, scales more same height as Marvel Legends. Baki is a teenager, so in my opinion he should be a bit smaller than your average Marvel Legends figure. And then from Marvel Legends, let's head over to the DC universe as we compare Baki to a 6-inch Mattel Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. Now if you're new to the channel, I haven't jumped in a time machine and traveled to 2027. No, this is the DC line from Mattel before the license went over to McFarlane. I quite like these last figures in the DC Mattel line. In my opinion, they were going in the right direction. So hopefully this is more of what we can expect from Mattel in 2027 regarding the DC license. And in fact, if anything, hopefully even better figures. Personally, I'd prefer them in 1/12 scale compared to 1/10 scale. And I know Mark feels the same. But yeah, here is Baki from Storm Arena side by side with Mattel DC Multiverse Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. In blackest day, in darkest night, these two look ready for a fight. And then let's have a look at SGT Slaughter from G.I. Joe Classified. The Slaughter's Moradas version side by side in a comparison with Baki Hanma, and SGT Slaughter is obviously based on the real-world personality and wrestler of the same name, and he's a trainer of the G.I. Joe recruits and troops, and Baki looks like he's done some major training of his own. And then from G.I. Joe Classified and Sergeant Slaughter, let's go to Valorverse Action Force and the Delta Troops. So here you get to see how both your fantasy military lines of G.I. Joe Classified and Action Force stack up next to Storm Arena Baki. And if you want to see more on Operation Monster Force in general, check out my review. And with that all in mind, let's say we take a look at Baki's range of articulation. And just before we take a look at Baki's range of articulation, we saw the Valorverse Delta Trooper from Action Force compared to Baki, and here he is again. Feel free to check out Mark's video on the AliExpress G.I. Joe Classified Retro Card Cobra Troopers, link in the comments below. Right now let's have a look at Baki's articulation.
Right then. So let's get into the articulation. And as you can imagine with Storm Arena, just like Yujiro Hanma in the Storm Arena line, the articulation is second to none. Great range up and down and side to side with the head, Arms go out to a T-pose and excellent butterfly joints. And double joints, elbows smooth as you like. Ball joint wrists can go round 360 degrees. Great head tilt as well. Bicep swivel. A bit of gaping at the waist, but he can go all the way back and forward. An ab crunch that blends in well with the abs. Drop down hips. Now initially I thought Baki didn't have thigh cuts, but he does. They were just a bit stiff on my copy. He can kick his own back, let alone his own ass. Double jointed knees and ankle rockers. The articulation points on Baki seemed a bit stiffer than Yujiro in my opinion. Yujiro had a slightly loose waist on my copy, but Baki had a lovely strong joints that pose really smoothly. The guy's basically going to be a dream to do some toy photography with. The articulation is second to none. Great range up and down and side to side with the head. Arms go out to a T-pose and excellent butterfly joints. And double joints, elbows smooth as you like. Ball joint wrists can go round 360 degrees. Great head tilt as well. Bicep swivel. A bit of gaping at the waist, but he can go all the way back and forward. An ab crunch that blends in well with the abs. Drop down hips. Now initially I thought Baki didn't have thigh cuts, but he does. They were just a bit stiff on my copy. He can kick his own back, let alone his own ass. Double jointed knees and ankle rockers. The articulation points on Baki seemed a bit stiffer than Yujiro in my opinion. Yujiro had a slightly loose waist on my copy, but Baki had a lovely strong joints that pose really smoothly. The guy's basically going to be a dream to do some toy photography with. Great range up and down and side to side with the head. Arms go out to a T-pose and excellent butterfly joints. And double joints, elbows smooth as you like. Ball joint wrists can go round 360 degrees. Great head tilt as well. Bicep swivel. A bit of gaping at the waist, but he can go all the way back and forward. An ab crunch that blends in well with the abs. Drop down hips. Now initially I thought Baki didn't have thigh cuts, but he does. They were just a bit stiff on my copy. He can kick his own back, let alone his own ass. Double jointed knees and ankle rockers. The articulation points on Baki seemed a bit stiffer than Yujiro in my opinion. Yujiro had a slightly loose waist on my copy, but Baki had a lovely strong joints that pose really smoothly. The guy's basically going to be a dream to do some toy photography with. And did I mention that Baki's going to be a dream to do some toy photography with? Well, only 3 bloody times, but he really is. I want to give the articulation junkies a really through look at the articulation, so I went over it a couple of times. But it honestly is amazing what Storm have been able to accomplish for their Arena line in terms of import-style articulation and feel and quality figures for a domestic price. It's just a shame people aren't talking about Jada as much as they were. But no doubt, both companies are now going to keep upping their game for our hard-earned cash. And so we have looked at the accessories Baki comes with and his articulation. Let's do some more comparisons with other action figure lines. And if you're enjoying this content, please do leave your comments, thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below.
So here we will have Baki next to NECA the Last Ronin armorless version. So bare chest Baki with bare shell Mikey. Have you read The Last Ronin? Have you watched Baki? We have a new series of Baki coming in 2026 called Baki Do, with Baki and other legendary martial artists facing off against Samurai Miyamoto Musashi. Well, here is Storm Arena Baki facing off against the Last Ronin from NECA. So Danhu and Tana Super Turk 5000 collect a few various Turtles lines. And speaking of Danhu, for all the latest Marvel Legends news and reviews, check out Danhu Reviews. And Dan has done an Operation Monster Force review on his channel, which you can check out if you like. Feel to check out Miguel and the TAKTAK Toy review, Kenny Encountered Culture, Jay's Toy Collection UK, Mikey Moon Boots, Emporium of Cool, Justin Collects, Robo Don't Know, Infinity Equation, Comics and Cocktails, and that's where Mark picked up his copy of Storm Arena Baki, who is still available in stock there. Star action figures, in-demand toys, props and replicas and more, And feel free to check out Mark's videos on his custom G.I. Joe classified characters, such as Kamikaze Joe and Gaucho from the 80s Action Force line, links in the comments below. And here's Baki next to Mesco 112 Popeye. So Popeye is one Mesco 112 figure that grew in popularity once it was released, and it is a really fun real-world take on the character. And as you can see here, there isn't really a great height difference between the two characters. And here's the best there is at what he does, and what he does isn't very nice, but the game doesn't make sense if you don't aim to win. Well, wise words there. And here's how Baki son of Ogre from Storm Arena stacks up alongside TAKTAK Toys Wolverine. So that's all the comparisons, now let's have some final thoughts.
So do I recommend Storm Arena Baki? If you get only one Storm Arena Baki figure, get this one. Storm Arena feels like an import figure and can easily sit among your SH Figures collection, which is a much higher price point, so you really are getting value for money with Storm Arena. The issue is, if you feel Baki is too short compared to other 1/12 domestic figures, such as Marvel Legends, but Baki is a teenager and is slated to be around 5 foot 6 inches, so a smaller Baki makes sense. Baki from Storm Arena can do high kicks, splits, and complex fighting stances, and has excellent articulation. He also has toe joints. I meant to mention that, like Yujiro, it really feels like Storm have captured lighting in a bottle twice, which is no easy feat. So I'm going to give Baki 9.8 out of 10, maybe even 9.9 out of 10. The more I play with him, the more I enjoy him. He makes me want a Storm Arena Baki Demon back version, or as Tom Mini Plastic Multiverse mentions, a bloody battle damaged Storm Arena of Baki. So that's it really. It's a really fun figure. Storm Arena have managed to pack excellent import articulation into a true 1/12 scale, and Baki really looks like he has jumped straight out of any anime or manga that you might have seen him in. And with Baki Dao coming in 2026, there's going to be some new anime to enjoy. I've included some bloopers at the end of the video to enjoy where I was filming the articulation and the camera took a dive. This Storm Arena Baki is an ideal Baki for your collection for a price that, just like Baki in his battles, can't be beat. But what did you think? Have you got any Storm Arena figures in your collection? Storm Arena Baki is still available at Comics and Cocktails. Let me know if this review has swayed you into picking one up. And until next time, make sure you enjoy those flicks and figs. When it comes to fighting or action figure collecting, you have to put your mind and soul into it.